YouTube? We back at it again. Today I got a special guest appearance.
What up, y'all? Ishraf.
I got my boy Ishraf, MS2. Tell them a little about yourself, bro.
Yo, how y'all doing, man? I'm from Houston. I'm a second-year medical student.
Nice time.
Met Abe over here last year. What's it called? I went to Texas A&M for undergrad. Majored in UT boy over here. Majored in chemical engineering. And then I ended up here in San Antonio, and yep, that's pretty much it. I'm from Houston, though, throw up the H.
Yes, sir. So, without further ado, this video is all about the MCAT. I know the MCAT is such a scary test for a lot of pre-med students, and a lot of pre-med students kind of like just are overwhelmed by the idea that they're gonna have to take this test. But we're here to share our experiences with y'all and kind of like let y'all know how we studied, how we approached the MCAT, to just give you a better idea. Maybe our ideas can help you reach your goals, and then before you know it, you could be in medical school as well. So
yeah, exactly. Like, what's important to know is like we're gonna tell y'all our experience with it. Y'all may face something different or study differently than us, but we're just gonna tell y'all how we got through it, and hopefully it benefits y'all. Like, that's the whole point.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start. So my MCAT experience, I took my MCAT in January of my junior year. So we got first semester, and then that January, like in between first and second semesters when I took mine, I took a total of about 5 weeks, what people call holiday hell, when essentially all you do is study. And it's important to note that I took the very last old MCAT. So the MCAT changed in 2015, and that's why I think it was extremely important to bring somebody that has, insight in the MCAT that you're gonna be taking.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the new MCAT, and we're going to describe it to you in a little bit. I'll explain to you how the format has changed, and I think it's very important to discuss both of our methodologies and show y'all how overall it's still the same goals in the end, using the same principal ideas in order to basically just destroy the test.
Destroy that thing. Come on, hello.
So I took the new MCAT right after completing the second year of college.
So you took it after your sophomore year?
Yeah, I took it after my sophomore year, bro.
That's crazy.
And dude, I took it just cause if I didn't do too well on it, I could have I had more time to retake it. It was more of like a safety net for me. But yeah, so I studied for a longer time than Abe over here. I studied like 4.5 months. I spent basically all summer, and my studying was more, I would say, spread out, so it was a little bit more relaxed.
So you mean to tell me you took the MCAT without taking all your prereqs?
Yeah, bro. So I took the MCAT without having taken biochem, psychology, and sociology.
Ishraf, it's interesting that you mentioned the point that you took it early to kind of have that safety net, and I think it's important for all pre-meds to understand that if you want to go straight from college, undergrad to medical school, you have to have that timeline in place. See, for me, I took it, in January, which is still kind of early, because you want to have time to prepare for your application. So when the application opens in May, you turn in everything you need to do and have that thing submitted by like June, July latest. You see what I'm saying?
You want to submit it early as possible.
Yeah. So, hey, Ishraf, can you let the people know kind of like what the MCAT is like and what the structure of the test is?
Yeah, I got you, man. So the MCAT now is basically a passage-based test, which means like you're gonna have to read like multiple passages and answer the questions based on the passage.
Okay.
Like the old MCAT was mostly like a lot of freestanding questions.
They did have a couple here and there.
Yeah. So it was more. I think the old one was more like rote, or is it rote memorization? Root memorization.
If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the new one, it's just like the concept. The concepts are much more important, and your ability to pick things up from articles and readings and stuff. So the way it works is there's 4 sections. The test in total is 6 hours and 25 minutes. That's total testing time, no breaks included. The whole day lasts like 8 hours. And it starts at like 8 in the morning, so you have to adjust for that as well. But the first section is chemistry, physics, basically. A lot of conceptual questions. You have to use equations. So there's no calculator allowed, so you have to do all of that by hand to get good at. I'd say you got to get good at that scientific notation, bro.
Yeah.
Like that will come in handy.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 10 passages, 95 minutes.
10 passages?
10 passages. Every section got 10 passages.
Shit.
59 questions for the first section in 95 minutes.
Okay.
That's the first section. Second section is CARS.
CARS.
Which stands for, do you know what it stands for?
Critical analysis.
And reasoning skills.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I forgot, but it's
Yeah.
basically the verbal section from the old MCAT, where you just read a bunch of passages and then you have to answer questions, and it mostly tests your critical reasoning. Right, exactly.
That was by far my hardest section.
Yeah, mine too, man. That was definitely the hardest struggle I had with studying.
Yeah.
But that section is the only one that's a little different. It's only 9 passages.
9 passages.
And it's 90 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and instead of 59 questions, it's 53 questions. So,
okay.
I mean, not too different, but like these passages are a lot more in depth. And
abstract.
it's much harder to read. So, yeah, we'll get into how we study that in a little bit. Third section is biology, biochemistry. It's mostly like, I would say, the most relatable to medical school now. Like it's much less equations and actual like having to work things out. You have to know like how biology, biochem fits into
how it integrates with medicine.
How exactly? Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So like a lot of physiology type of things.
Physiology, exactly. So yeah, I wouldn't say just go out and memorize facts for this section, because even though like you have to know a lot of fact, it's still mostly like conceptual knowledge and how you pick things up from the articles and the passages. Nice. So again, 10 passages, 95 minutes, 59 questions. And the final section is the psychology, sociology section.
See, that section is totally new. We didn't have that at all.
Yeah, so they didn't even have any of that on there. Yeah, it was absolutely new. So we had that, and same thing, and it had a little bit of statistics too. So it was 10 passages, again, 59 questions, 95 minutes. And that's basically the layout of the test in terms of how many sections and timing and the number of questions.
Appreciate you, bro. Now it's time to discuss why y'all probably watching this video, like how the hell do we study? Like what do we do? What resources do we use? And how do we fully prepare ourselves? Before I dive into that, I do want to make a general point. And I think the best way you can like study for the MCAT and put yourself in the best position to succeed is to learn the material as you take the class.
Yeah,
now let me tell you, like, a lot of y'all watching this video, like I've been in college, I've seen how it's done. Like you can make good grades, you can get your A's and not learn anything, just finessing the system, like making it happen, right? But the issue is like all of those classes are your foundation. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to build a house on a shaky foundation, but it's not, the outcome's not gonna turn out well. So imagine like you've been skating this whole time and now you're trying to like, put this house together, which is the MCAT. It's gonna be difficult for you. Like your learning curve is gonna be much more difficult. So if you're a first year, if you're a second year and like you're taking, physics, you're taking biochemistry, biology, do your best to truly understand the material, to retain and get it, not necessarily to memorize, regurgitate it, dump. Does that make sense? Because the more you understand it, the easier it's gonna be when you're transitioning for the MCAT and you start to study for the MCAT.
Like to just reemphasize, a lot of pre-med students I noticed in college would definitely get the A, put the work in, get a good grade in the class, whatever they want to get, but then they kind of just dump out that information afterwards, like they got the GPA boost or whatever, but the thing is you want to learn these things, right? You want to like get these foundations in your head, because by the time you're studying for the MCAT, like it's mostly you want to be just reviewing stuff. You don't want to be learning.
You don't want to be learning new things
like,
when you study for the MCAT.
That's not what you want to be
doing. Unless you hadn't taken the class before.
Right, exactly.
But I think he's gonna get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell my experience when I studied for the MCAT. I bought the Princeton review class. It was around $2,000. I had just got a scholarship, so it was cool for me. So like I said, I did the holiday hell. So class was from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the good thing about the review course is it came with a whole bunch of, came with some books, and it came with like a whole bunch of practice tests and some practice problems. So interestingly enough, like I went to class for the first 2 days and I was like, yeah, I'm wasting my time, because they were telling me things I already knew, bro. I don't need a teacher to tell me that it goes from, DNA to RNA to proteins. Like I know that, what I'm saying? I need you to, they weren't giving me heat. They weren't giving me like, hey, like this is how you eat. You see what I'm saying? So I was just like, nah, I'm done with this class. So I stopped going to class because I just felt like by the time I got home at 4 p.m., like I didn't want to then keep studying because I was tired.
Too tired, yeah.
So after that, one of my friends, shout out to Jeremiah, he told me about this website called CourseSaver.com. And CourseSaver.com has videos on physics, chemistry, biology, and OChem, right? Now remember, I took the old MCAT, and that was really like as hard as the science as it came. So with the new MCAT, I don't think they have videos on biochemistry. They don't have videos on psychology or sociology. So you can like supplement those like from a different source. But the good thing about the website, like the dude is a great explainer, and it costs $50 a month, which is very affordable if you don't, you know what I'm saying, if you're not trying to spend $2,000 on a class.
Definitely.
So I did that for like the first 2 weeks. And for the next 3 weeks, I basically did a practice exam every other day. So in total, I took like 15 practice exams. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to simulate like the real deal every day. So I'll do it like at 8 a.m. I'll wake up. By the time I like the 10th, 12th practice exam, I knew exactly how much coffee I can drink without having to get up to pee. You know what I'm saying? I had it down to a science so much where it's like, because it was just repetition. And basically after I took my practice exam, let's say I took it from like 8 to 12, I would then review, and I would just do problems on everything that I may have missed on that exam. So if I seen that I missed some kinematics problems, I went to
miss that again.
I went to the Princeton Review book that they gave me and just do like 100 straight kinematic problems in a row. If I was missing questions on like periodic trends, I would just do that in a, you know what I'm saying, to the point where it's like there's no trend that you can throw at me that I haven't necessarily.
So how'd you do these practice problems? Were they in like a workbook or something?
Yeah, so it came in the workbook.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And quite frankly, like looking back at my experience, like if I could get the books, if I could have gotten the books and like maybe like a practice problems, practice test without having to pay for the entire class, I think I would have done that, because for me the class wasn't necessarily helpful. Like the $2,000 you're paying is going to a lot of things, and I understand that like that could be expensive for certain people. Yeah. But we'll kind of talk about like how to avoid like high costs a little later. How about you tell them your experience?
So like Abe was saying with the Princeton Review, I did that as well. That was that's I think crazy. I mean we don't work for them or nothing. So with the Princeton Review, it was basically it was 2 racks like he was saying. But the thing, what you get with it though, you get all the in-class lectures, you get the workbooks. So not only and then you also get all the MCAT Princeton Review the review books. So you have all the review books for each section, and you have workbooks with additional problems for these sections. So like that's the workbook he was talking about. So I thought that was pretty useful, like the books, and then you get 10 practice exams, or at least I did when I was in the course. I finished sophomore year of college. Okay. I hadn't taken biochem, psychology, or sociology. Okay. So I basically had to self-study biochem. And the way I did that was through online YouTube lectures by this guy named Kevin Ahern.
Kevin
Ahern.
What we're going to do is I'm going to include all the links to all the resources that we mentioned in this video. I'm going to put it in the description, so go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, y'all can check that out. But yeah, this guy, Kevin Ahern, professor from the Ohio State University, he has like a YouTube channel with all these videos on biochem. And I hadn't taken biochem in college, so as soon as school ended sophomore year, mid-May, I just started watching these videos that he had. And I watched like 2 or 3 a day, and I did that for the span of the 4 months that I studied.
Did you take notes while you were watching?
Yeah, I definitely took notes. Man.
I also took notes while I was watching the CourseSaver.com, just so you want to like be able to reference back to things you learned at a later time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I took I remember I took 4 to 4.5 months to study for this thing, and the first 2.5 months I was just watching this guy's videos, trying to learn more biochem. So that's how I started supplementing the biochem. Psychology and sociology, I've never taken those either. So what I did with that is I would watch like 2 to 3 Khan Academy videos. So Khan Academy has they got an MCAT review section on the website.
Nice.
So they got videos for each section of the MCAT with practice questions. So like there's another resource right there it's for the free too. So so I'd watch like 2 to 3 videos a day. Like I'd be eating lunch or something and throw it on the screen, and that's basically what I did. And like so what you said you were studying from what time? What were your time?
Oh yeah, so when I was studying, I was like 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. because I had 5 weeks though. For me it was just grind time.
He was grinding like constantly. Yeah. But like for me, since I spread it out more, it was more I guess relaxed. But I would definitely like study I'd study like 4 or 5 hours a day probably. So that's how I targeted psychology and sociology. And then obviously the Princeton Review books. Okay. I would say, read through those books because they have all the high points that the MCAT is going to cover. Psych Soc, I focused on the most, so because I hadn't taken it, so I read that book thoroughly like twice, cover to cover.
Nice.
And it really helped me out, so I would highly recommend reading that book if you don't have any psych sociology background. But yeah, so I did all of that, and then about when I had when I had like a month left, I started taking practice tests every weekend.
How many practice tests you take?
So they gave us 10. I took all 10 of them.
Hello, duh.
Yeah, you gotta take as many practice tests as you can, bro. Like,
come on.
At the end of the day, it's like a lot of it's pattern recognition, figuring out how they ask questions, figuring out what kind of questions they ask.
I'm telling you.
You gotta learn how to read those passages, like, and like sometimes you don't even have to read it all the way through. Like, you gotta make sure, like, if you understand what you're getting into, like, you can save so much more time and be more efficient.
Another benefit of like doing that many practice exams is like you get your testing stamina way up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Part of the real test is to sit down and take a test for 6 hours.
Right.
Is, you know,
Honestly,
it's hard, right?
That's one of the hardest parts of the test.
That's one of the hardest parts.
It's like lasting all the whole time.
After you take your 4th and 5th and 8th practice exams, 6th, 7th, you know what I'm saying? At that point, it's just true, another section, true, another passage,
Just
true, another question. Does that make sense? But if you take one practice exam and then you take the real deal, man, you're gonna be so tired. You're like, oh my God, another passage. Oh my God, another. You see what I'm saying? And that's why it's in your best benefit to do as much as you can get your hands on.
So I would take a practice exam every weekend when I had like a month left.
Okay.
And again, taking practice exams is the best way to do well, in my opinion.
Every standardized exam.
Yeah. So let me get into a little bit how I studied cars. Okay. So the critical reasoning section. It's just it's not I've always disliked it.
It's tough.
But yeah, you gotta get y'all a copy of Exam Crackers, 101 passages, and I don't rep any book more than I rep this book for the MCAT. Like, if you do like 1 to 5 passages a day from this book, like, you'll be in good shape for the cars passages on the MCAT. It's the only book I know that has the cars section as closely represented to the actual AAMC MCAT. I think doing a couple passages a day is the best way to study for cars.
You do all the passages in the book?
So personally, I hated cars so much that I didn't, but I did a good amount of them.
Yeah,
I did a good amount of them. Yeah, I know some people who did all of them, and they scored much better than me on the section. But yeah, it's a very good book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used that book, and then for just because I hadn't taken psychology, I had a next steps review book for psychology.
Okay.
So I also read that, and
where'd you get that from?
I just got that from Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, all these books you can get from Barnes and Noble. You don't have to get through the Princeton Review.
It's like on Amazon, maybe?
You can get it on Amazon, yeah, for sure, man. Amazon's got everything now.
Yeah.
But so I mainly had that for practice problems, as well as the workbooks that he was talking about with the course that you get.
How'd you do on your MCAT? Like, what percentage did you score?
So I got a 514 on it. So on the.
Hey, this guy's crazy.
Oh no, bro, calm down. I was too surprised, bro. It's 91st percentile. It changed to 92nd though, so okay. I'm hyped about that.
Yeah.
More people took it, and then so
I got you.
But I think most of it had to do with the fact how many practice exams I took. I think it's important to also notify y'all that the practice exams on Princeton Review are much more difficult than the actual MCAT exam. So okay. I think it's highly important to let y'all know that you should take all of those exams first, and then at the very end, take the official AAMC MCAT practice exams.
Where do you get those from?
So those you can get from Amazon too, but it's through the AAMC. You can go to their website and purchase a book. It also comes with the Princeton Review if you choose to get them.
What's the book called?
It's called AAMC's official guide to the MCAT or something like that.
We'll find the link. We'll put it in the description.
We'll put the link on, And I would highly recommend getting that book because it has exactly all the objectives for each section that you have to know.
Yeah.
So if you truly know all the objectives in that book, you'll be golden.
Nice.
So I would suggest taking the official practice exam through that. It comes in that book. So okay. I would recommend taking that exam right after having taken all your Princeton.
Your other practice.
Yeah, because those are going to be way harder, the first ones, and you want to what's it called? You practice with something much harder, you know what I'm saying? You do better on the real thing.
You want to prepare yourself with things that's going to mentally challenge yourself on the real MCAT.
You can do better, yeah.
You feel me? Like, it's like I've seen this level of difficulty, and you know your brain knows how to work around that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to practice that jumper 100 times to hit that game winner eventually.
Come on.
Hit that game winner. Yeah.
So let's say, you don't want to buy a pencil review class, or you don't want to spend $2,000 on the MCAT class, which is
It's a lot.
understandable, because that's a lot of bread. Like, what can you do to put yourself in the best situation? Personally, I think the best investment of your money is to find the book somehow. Like, everybody knows somebody that's taking the MCAT, right? So see if they have old material. Hey, bro, you still got them books? Can I hold them real quick? Can I study from them? You know what I'm saying? Get your hand on some books. And then I think the most important thing you can do is like get your hand on, questions and tests. So he mentioned the AAMC book. It's on the AAMC website. Like, you can buy that. You can buy all the Princeton Review books separately. Also, like, I think it's very important to expose yourself to as many questions as you can. And recently, UWorld, which is the company that makes the question bank for the medical licensing examination, the USMLE, and for like NCLEX, the nursing's board examination, they're like the kingpin of question banks. They recently started a MCAT question bank.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And if what I know about UWorld is their explanations are out of this world. And I know, like, they get all medical students in shape for their board exams, their step 1 exam. So I already know that their MCAT questions are also going to be up to par. And if you go on their website, they actually have a 90-day subscription for like $100. You see what I'm saying? And you spend $100 on 1,500 questions. And I believe it also comes with some practice tests as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, you just want to expose yourself to as many questions as you can. So regardless of what resources you want to use to get those questions, whether it be Princeton Review, whether it be Kaplan, whether it be Becker's, whether it be Exam Crackers, the list goes on and on and on. You want to expose yourself to as many questions as you can. Does that make sense? So let's say you buy the practice exams as you need them from whatever source you want to get them. You still want to do as many as you can.
Yeah.
And you can, like, instead of spending $2,000, maybe spend $300, $400 on everything, and still be able to be in a good position to do well on the exam. Like, it's not a must that you buy any course review. However, you do want to have resources to review. There's YouTube to review a lot of stuff for free. You get that book and see. Make sure you know make sure you're familiar with all of the objectives.
Right.
And then you do practice. Lastly, to kind of wrap up this video, I think the most important thing, and I say this in all of my videos because I think it's really the most important thing, like, you have to believe and understand and be confident that you can take this test and do well. Does that make sense? Like, you can't doubt yourself. You can't think that you're incapable of doing well on this exam. The people that do well on these exams are normal people. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not geniuses. He's not a genius. I'm not a genius. Does that make sense? But at the end of the day, you put in the work and put yourself in the best position. And half of the battle is just believing that you can do it. You're not dumb. You've done well in high school. You've gotten to college. Like, these are all huge accomplishments. So now you have to speak it into existence. Like, okay, I'm gonna do well in MCAT, and I'm gonna put myself in the best position, and this is how I'm gonna do it.
Exactly. So as long as you have enough motivation, you'll be able to succeed in this.
I'm telling you, like, you gotta believe it in yourself.
Yeah.
You have anything else to?
Oh yeah, one more thing I wanted to add. So I have written down my full study scheme per section. So each section, how I studied for each section. I have that written down in my notes in my phone.
I'll go ahead and link his notes in the description as well.
You can go ahead and do that.
Just so you can get a more in detail look through on what he did and how he did. Anywho, that's the end of this video. Y'all. My boy Ishraf, man. Follow my guy.
Follow me on Twitter. Instagram. It's the same handle. Ballin Biswas at Ballin Biswas.
I got you.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to that boy Simba. I really appreciate your work, bro. You know what I'm saying, with the videos and the logos and all the thumbnails. Like, best of luck to you in med school. Good looking. Anywho, that's the end of this video. Like, share, send this to a pre-med, send this to somebody that may be interested in medicine. Like,
help them out, man.
The thing about it is it's possible. We did it, you can do it too. It's Ambi.
It's Ballin Biswas.
Hey, we're checking out. Stay humble, stay hungry. We out.